So, hi everybody. In this video, myself, Tarun Reed of Spica
And
Astrology, and Priya Kale from cosmicdiaries.com. Hi Priya,
hi, Darren.
how you doing?
How are you?
Good. We're going to be talking.
Sorry for laughing because we just had a bit of a moment before, but
Yeah, we
I'll
had a
let
funny little joke. It's actually a big joke, but it's good. In this video, we're going to be sharing with you some of our insights about the eclipses for February and what they mean for the year, as well as talking about Venus and her retrograde cycle that she's going to be going into at the beginning of March, and then ending off in a sweet spot with looking at the astrology of Valentine's Day.
yes. So yeah, we're pretty much looking at what's going on this February, which is going to be we both obviously looked at the charts before we spoke, and then we touched on it a little bit before we started recording.
Yeah,
But it's a big month. It's pretty much setting up the whole year that's coming up, 2017,
right.
and as you can all see in your life, January has brought a big shift in our lives. Uh, Structures have changed, and now we're being thrust into a whole new world, and these eclipses are just really going to blast us forward. So,
Yeah, it is like we were joking before that the song for at least the first half of the year is going to be from Aladdin, a whole new world. Um,
exactly.
Hopefully in a good
Let's just
way,
hope we're smiling on that magic carpet, right?
Exactly. We don't know where we'll
So,
end up.
buckle up, everybody.
Yeah, yeah,
But and one more thing that I do want to mention, and since we're talking about astrology, it makes sense.
yeah.
So as we begin the month, the sun is in Aquarius, and we just had a new moon in Aquarius on the 27th of January.
Right.
We're in February now, but so for me personally, I just moved into a new house, and so I am currently not very set up, and I'm working out of my bed, which I guess works for the Venus video, right? So that was my disclaimer for the video,
Right.
in case anyone's wondering why she's in bed.
And it's good for the new moon in Aquarius that we are, because this is something new that we just sort of we didn't even plan to be doing a recorded video webcast about these things. We didn't even
Yes,
really plan really what to talk about until like a few minutes ago. So this is totally
and
Uranian.
that's another story. Sorry, we're going to keep going at this, but this whole video came about because of a dream, which I'm not going to get into. But it was very spontaneous, and yeah, here we are. So I'm
Yeah,
happy to be doing this.
and it's good. We at this time at the end of January, like we said. I mean, even from the Vedic astrology point of view, it's been a couple of at least 1.5, 2 grinding weeks for people. So we've been grinding away at something somewhere, if at least nothing more than our internal space. For those of us who are
Yeah,
introverted a lot. But we all are trying to find meaning in this new sort of world and putting our first feelers out there as to, what does this mean for me going forward? What does this mean for myself and my family and my friends in my area and all around the world? So,
absolutely.
and as we've seen, as you can see on the screen, I've got the chart for the full moon lunar eclipse happening in the middle of Feb. And we'll look at it in more detail again,
Yeah,
but the eclipse at the end of the month of Feb, both these eclipses involve Uranus in some way. Uranus is connected or being activated in both of these times. And it's I think, Priya, it's part of this ongoing Jupiter opposition to Uranus for the rest of the year, yeah?
great. Yeah, it's definitely like the Jupiter Uranus opposition is pretty much the story of the year, and what you're saying about, yeah, we're entering this whole new world, and what does this mean for me? Because a lot of planets are now moving into Aries, and
Hmm.
as Taran said, Uranus and Aries is pretty much connecting these eclipses,
Right.
and I wrote about this on my blog, but as you enter this new world, I do feel it's like being a newborn in a new world. Is the world a scary place? Is it You know, do you feel curious? Are you filled with a sense of wonder and awe? Are you scared? Are you angry? Are you upset? You know, you've got to like, and that's part of that internal space I think that people are working through, you know, to process these emotions before acting out or react.
Yeah, process the emotions, and also you know, you have Uranus has been in Aries for a while now, okay, and Pluto's been in Capricorn for a while now.
But Mars has just entered Aries, so everything's kind of heating up.
Mars just entered Aries, you know, so I think in February and first this year, while, you know, we're talking about the Jupiter-Uranus opposition going on, while the Sun is in Aquarius, you know, which has an affinity to Uranus energy. It's almost like, you know, people have these innovations, people have these new ideas, people have these long-term things, at least for the last couple of years, that they've been planning to do in their life, or new ideas about, you know, how they want to look at themselves or view themselves or do things for themselves in a Uranian sort of way, whether this is rebellious or whether this is, you know, eclectic, depending on the person. But Jupiter in Libra is going, during the course of the year until middle of October, is going to be, you know, trying to give us the sense that, okay, but what is the appropriate way of explaining this or expressing this with other people? Right. What is the way to, what is the most, you know, Libra and Jupiter both have a sense about law and justice, yeah, and you know, so we have the new justice in the USA being nominated and all these things, and these shocking new laws that are being passed, I think, is also part of this Jupiter-Uranus opposition that is going on.
Capricorn, right, which is like the T-square of this
the T-square.
So for those of you who know astrology already know this, but for those who are familiar with it, so an opposition is when we have two planets opposite each other, literally. So they're at 180-degree angle. And then when you have another planet, in this case we have Pluto and Capricorn, which is forming a 90-degree angle to that opposition. So it's forming like a T-square in the sky. Right. So whenever we have a T-square, two things. One, planet at the apex of the T-square is going to be where there's a pressure point, because that's the center of the axis. And then we have the opposite sign, which is in this case Cancer, the planet with the sign with the missing planet, so to speak, on that cross, the Grand Cross.
Right.
Of signs.
Right.
So we have to look at the sign with the missing planet to bring about balance. And in this case, Cancer, which is the moon, and it's your emotions. Where Pluto and Capricorn is this, you know, the plutocracy that's happening in the world, the government, the darkness, the corruption that we're seeing, because they're so removed from their emotions. It's the other end of the axis.
Yeah.
So, because you have to be completely devoid and detached of emotion to be able to have no compassion for other life, you know.
In a
and
Platonic,
that's what we're seeing with Pluto.
Yeah, Platonic sort of way.
And you're right. A lot of people have been things that you've been wanting to do for your life. Yeah. You know, suddenly there's this sense of now or never. There's an urgency because everyone's back is up against the wall, so you might as well just be you.
Yeah.
Do you, boo?
Exactly. You know, and it's very relevant what you said about Cancer being the balancing point for this kind of stressful situation that's playing out for the rest of the year and providing the context for a lot of the major cycles and eclipses that are going on. You know, Uranus and Jupiter.
For people to look at in their chart. Sorry, I won't interrupt you again, but for people to look at in their own chart, look at where you have Cancer in your chart.
Right.
When things get too intense and too much, that's the place in your life you go to find balance.
And in a Cancerian way, wherever that is in your chart, those people or those situations in your life, you have a sense of belonging to, you know. And I think and what I was going to say was this Jupiter-Uranus opposition occurring in Aries Libra, which is the natural first house, seventh house of the zodiac, is challenging us to rethink how we relate to one another, to actually, you know, these Plutonic, you know, laws and overlaws that are so-called ruling the way the world works, and we, to not get obsessed about that and to focus more
Right.
about how we are relating to one another, especially while Venus is, still in Pisces, at least, to give Jupiter,
Right.
some mutual
Another thing.
reception to Jupiter,
Right.
to reconsider the other person with some empathy and compassion, and at the same time, in a Cancerian sort of way, we are still one tribe as a humanity, whichever country we come from, and to honor that common past that we all are sharing, and maybe that will give us some grounding for the year.
Sorry. No,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt. You can edit this bit out. Keep going.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Oh, man, I'm so sorry. I was just going to say that you're right. And the sun is in Aquarius, which is all about the humanity and the tribe, which the eclipses are all tying into. So I was just...
Yes. Yeah.
The Aries got impatient, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Fire is good, but so how we're even, Priya and I, how we're relating on this webcast to one another, we can see the fire happening, but also the Jupiter Libra is also trying to happen as well, we are here
Right.
rendering this Jupiterian sort of service to you,
And
the guys
Moon
are
is in
watching.
Aries right now as we record this.
Mhm.
Incidentally, it's on both of our planets, so
Right.
we're definitely fired up at the moment.
Yes,
Which is good. It's good.
it's
hopefully,
good. We're bringing a sort of inspirational, and we want you to be inspired by watching this video and not be so kind of downcast from all the crap that everyone's talking about and everyone's focusing on. It's about, and as people have always said, all successful people have said in life, that it's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it. And we need to ask ourselves this question of what are we going to do about this, hand in hand, in a Libra sort of way, because that is where the Jupiter is.
No, absolutely. And I think a big part of that also comes back to, I've been going on about this on my blog, and it's something that I've learned the hard way.
Right.
I never used to meditate, really.
Right.
Yeah. But over the past few years, I mean, this Pluto-Uranus square has been in effect since the first one happened in 2012. Uranus entered Aries in 2010, and this has been slowly building up. What's happening in the world, what's happening in your life has not happened overnight.
Right.
Even though some, things have suddenly changed, the change has been coming for a while.
Yeah.
So I had to learn the hard way that meditation is so important. And even if we do it 5 minutes a day, and I'm not saying that I'm that good at it, I still end up missing days, but I try.
Right.
And that's a big thing with the Jupiter and Libra, because it's about balance.
Yes.
And peace, and unless you have that within yourself, there's no way you can,
That's a
create
very
that in the...
That's a very good point to add, that this Uranus-Pluto square has been going on for some time, and it's in the cardinal signs, and afflictions in the cardinal signs always mean that you want to be proactive, you want to be initiating something, you want to get started and get moving with something in your life, but the more you try to get started, the more things need to be sorted out before you can move forward. Yeah. Whether it's
Right.
you or the system, or someone above you or someone with you or under you or whatever, and it's just that sort of deadbeat energy all the time. And maybe the transit of Jupiter through Libra in the cardinal sign to interact with Pluto and Uranus in this way, it has interacted with Pluto, but now with Uranus, is the final sort of lesson and releasing point for a lot of people, and for us to take to heart, really, to be considerate of the other person.
Absolutely. I mean, look, when Libra is also creative energy.
Right.
So when we find that point of stillness, that's where we can be a creative force. Then that really, look, all of this is all just, the universe just wants us to wake up to reality, which is going beyond perception.
Right.
And now that, the sun is in Aquarius, we're moving to this full moon and eclipse. Everything that's happening, the external world, all this is doing is drawing you back inward. Because when that transformation happens, then, you're flowing with the universe, doing the work that needs to be done.
Right.
Because these planets are moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Life is happening.
Yeah.
You know.
And let's talk a little bit more about how that fits into this full moon here, because it's a Leo full moon. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about the full moon now. So you go first. What are you saying here?
So the first thing I want to just point out is that it is a Leo full moon, but the sun is in Aquarius. So a Leo full moon is always very interesting, because the sun is always more involved and sometimes overwhelmed by group stuff and everyone else's concerns, and what is right for the group as opposed to what's right for me in Aquarius, know, and what's better for masses of people as opposed to actually what is my need. So it may be that this full moon week, 11th of February, in the week of it, is a time when everyone in some way, because we all have Leo somewhere in our chart, it's that area of our life where we need to stand up for ourselves and discover ourselves and our creativity and use it in that area of life. And perhaps that this full moon in Leo week is going to be a period where people can, actually disconnect from the group mind, so to speak, that's just buzzing, and actually reconnect with their heart a bit more this week.
That's really nice. That's a really nice way to put it, and I agree. There's what are my needs versus what are the needs of the group. Also, where do I fit in with all of this? You find yourself in the middle of a group, and where do I fit in? What is my place here? What is my role?
Yeah.
So there is that balance of that, and I think a lot of it also begins with self-acceptance.
Yeah.
So that you're not worried about what you look like or what other people think of you, or because Leo is that fifth house energy. It's like the sun. It's ruled by the sun, and that's why that sun in Aquarius. It's just about being. Yeah.
You might want to read a book about acting out of wholeheartedness or acting out of sincerity.
And speaking of the heart, Venus and Mars will be in Aries by that point. We're going to get to that in a minute. But love is definitely in the air.
Yeah, so Jupiter in Libra.
For sure.
The other thing about this full moon eclipse, lunar eclipse, it is a lunar eclipse. So it's not so much about leaders. It's not so much about government. It's more about the people. From a mundane astrology point of view, it's more about what are the people doing, what's affecting the people. And with a lunar eclipse in Leo, it's suggesting that the people's hearts is what we need to pay attention to. The core of our lives. We need to remind ourselves what is holding the most important thing in our life is actually our life. Because it's because we are alive and breathing that our cars are important, our money is important, our relationships are important. If it wasn't for our beating heart and core of who we are, none of these things would matter, really. So it's a point to reconsider that. And this full moon actually casts very nice sextiles and trines into this Jupiter-Uranus opposition. Yeah.
Yes.
From both sides, this rectangle configuration in the chart, and that's very supportive. This can be a very supportive reconciliation moment for a lot of people in relationships. If you've blocked friends on Facebook or whatever, you may find that you may be more okay to reconnect with them and sort of come to sort of a middle ground about things. And maybe this can show some sort of reconciliation between the government and people as well in various ways. But
I didn't want to talk about that, but it's hard not to even mention that the full moon and eclipse is going to be on a certain president,
certain person. So it's with no doubt that for sure certain people are key players in the year. And with supportive aspects like the sextiles and trines, trines, one aspect of the trine energy is about learning and receiving and teaching as well. So people that have experience, and older people and younger people, we can really learn from each other and support each other through whatever we're going through in this way. Older people may need help, sorting internet issues out, and younger people may need help in terms of a broader perspective on life. A lot of people are having quarter-life crises now, which is totally crazy, right? But that's what's happening. And so trines are very supportive for that. Sextiles are very supportive in terms of our friends can help us, groups can help us, so
there's a real sense of camaraderie here, I see. And well, it also speaks a lot about, a lot of the organization and movements that are taking place around the country. See,
right.
Eclipses, for those who aren't familiar with eclipses, it's like the energy of 6 full moons or 6 new moons in one. And life tends to accelerate around eclipses, where events will take place very fast and things will shift very fast. Also, with the lunar eclipse, it's your emotions.
Right.
So, as very symbolically, very literally, this lunar disk is wiped clean.
Right.
There's a sense of having, full moons will always bring revelation, completion. It marks the end of a cycle that began with the new moon and with the Aquarius new moon in this case.
Right.
On the 27th of January. So by the 10th of February, you will notice that, emotions, situations are getting more dramatic because Leo can be dramatic. That's another thing. Stay out of drama.
Yes,
if you don't want to get involved, stay out of it. Just
it is.
There's plenty of drama going around if that's what you want to do.
Yeah,
right?
It's good if you're company trying to get your word out there and that kind of thing. Something especially that maybe tech related or innovation or something on the fringe of society, to get that out there. But also at the lunar eclipse, as Priya was saying, she said the moon is wiped clean. What is effectively happening is the phases that the moon would normally go through in a month, she's going through in a couple of hours. Okay? So one gets the opportunity to experience the full range of your emotions. Everything that's happened in the last year since September, you kind of have it's like hitting you all at once, and you're coming to a realization that would be seeded in your subconscious to be triggered later on in the year. But it's a good time to take time out to reflect upon what is the fullness of my personality, and how am I bringing that out, by still maintaining my roots. So
thanks. You explained that really well, but that's what he said, and you have it in Leo, so
and
very passionate, and it's very creative energy, and it's this need to want to express yourself and to feel free to be yourself and to be loved for it, and that's why I was saying that it comes back to self-acceptance, whether it's on a professional level where you're reaching for something you want to achieve and something you're proud of, or whether it's in your personal relationships of just being able to express your love, or and not worry about rejection, because Leo has that ego, right? So it's about love has no pride. Get rid of the pride. Get rid of the ego. You can feel your emotions. Doesn't mean that someone's necessarily reciprocate or not, but you have to acknowledge what you feel.
Yeah.
So, and I guess we're going to talk about the Venus Mars. We can't ignore that Venus is now in her direct shadow. So we'll get into that more, but everything that Venus is covering now,
it's building up into a bigger story, for sure.
We're going to be recovering that in March.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the month, we have the solar eclipse here, right?
Oh, and plus, we were talking about this earlier, so we should tell them now. The part about, where it feels like, okay, it's all passionate, but there's a little that's Valentine's Day.
Yes,
right?
Valentine's Day. Yeah.
Okay.
So, just going a bit towards the end of the month, this eclipse, the new moon in Pisces. Pisces has been a very sensitive sign for a while now. I think since 2015, 2014, there have been a couple of eclipses in Pisces happening, slowly building up, now and then a poke over here, a poke over there, We've had the Saturn-Neptune squares happening 2015 into 2016, for Pisces and Sagittarius, both Jupiter signs as well, so Jupiter being important for 2017. Maybe bring resolution to all of these. Maybe Uranus is going to probably give Jupiter some resolution time, to manifest something in a forceful and forthright way. And so it's a time for Pisces and other mutable signs, Sagittarius, Gemini, and Virgo, to really pull up your socks and it's time to speak out now. It's time to get going with life. This kind of indecision has been going on for too long. Yeah. The Saturn-Neptune sort of indecision time. So I think, I don't know, Priya, if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, well, again, for those who are not familiar, just to remind you that now this eclipse, which is the first eclipse we spoke about was the 10th of February. That's the full moon Leo eclipse. Now this eclipse occurs 2 weeks later, on the 26th of February.
Right.
So we're essentially, in your life, pay attention, because the revelations that come out of the 10th of February, it's like we're taking in all those revelations, and we're, seeing what we need to let go of and release before the new cycle begins with the new moon and eclipse, right? So that's just something for people to remember, that it's always a continuation. It's always a cycle. See what comes up around the 10th.
It's quite a nice, instead of saying maybe see what comes up, because it's happening in Pisces, I think people need to pay attention to how they're feeling and sort of feel what comes up more, really. We haven't had, there's no other water happening in the chart, okay, except what's happening in Pisces, so people want to feel loved, people want to be held, people want to feel cared for. It's almost like we become raw to it, with life in a way. So it's nice to have Neptune there in association with this new moon, and the South Node as well. And it's a day or two after Mercury moved into Pisces as well. So it really is emphasizing the communication, releasing of, Mercury, as well as being how we talk and speak with one another, can also be, how we are in a relativity sort of way viewing the world, while Mercury was in Aquarius and Capricorn in the months before, where we've made all these harsh judgments and views about the world and politics and etc. and everyone else and groups and society in general, and drawing labels in that way. A Pisces Mercury is a call for relinquishing those labels, because the labels are actually the things that are separating us. So it's a very nice energy, having the stellium in Pisces to take care of, to watch where we are walking in life, because Pisces is naturally the feet, so pay attention to where my feet are going in my life and who is walking with me, and not just who, but what feelings am I taking forward with me? Are they conducive and helpful to my development and relationships or not?
Right. And, everything that he's saying, another thing that was coming to me while you were speaking was, so at the time of the Leo full moon, with the Venus and Mars, again, we're going to talk about the Venus of this.
Yes.
You can clip this out.
Yeah.
Venus is, we're going to get into detail with the Venus in Aries in a minute, but Venus and Mars are still in Aries, and now Venus is slowing down to a halt at the time of this 26th February eclipse. So there's a sense that, okay, there were all these passionate feelings that came up around the time of the full moon, and now as you start this new moon cycle, it's time to go deeper, into something, whether it's a relationship. Okay, let me say, when it comes to your personal relationship, there's a thing about going deeper now. But with Venus, there's a sense of hesitancy because she's slowing down to a halt. And with Mars, will be conjunct Uranus at the time of this eclipse.
So that's, again, bringing the Uranus energy and really, mind my language, trumping it up, because I had to go there because the Mars is conjuncting Uranus in his own sign, and so the feminine is being blocked out because it's a new moon, but the feminine is also receding away from the masculine because Venus is also slowing down and Mars is speeding up and going up ahead. So it's quite a sensitive time.
Sorry, go on. You first.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I'm awful. Please finish. I feel awful otherwise.
So as we were saying, the Cancer moon energy as being the balancing for this T square in the cardinal signs. At this point, it's a vulnerability point. And it so happens that this vulnerability point is happening in Pisces and Aries, which is about the collective and also about myself. It's about the collective group kind of, if you think about Pisces, new moon and Neptune and South Node and releasing, it's like, what is the collective wound? What is the collective point of healing that has to happen? And with Mars and joining Uranus in Aries and opposing...
learn something that just blows us out of the water, is what I'm seeing.
Yes.
Because look, that new moon and eclipse is also contra Anticia.
Right.
Mars and Uranus.
Right. And it is connected to Saturn too.
Sorry, is that right? Did I say? Yeah, not Anticia, contra Anticia, right? So the contra Anticia would be like 21 Libra for the moon. Wouldn't it? For the moon and for the eclipse, which is right opposite which is conjunct Jupiter and opposite the Mars Uranus. So, and then Pisces moon is ruled by Jupiter.
Yes. So actually, this eclipse is joined.
So this is major.
Is actually.
Like, this is major.
Yeah.
And I would see that with that Mercury in Pisces heading towards the South Node. Okay, the larger transit of Mercury in Pisces, what you said is true. It's about resolving those perceptions that divide us. Yeah. But also, it's all by the South Node, and it's really important for people and to be very, very aware. Things are not as they seem.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If you're not sure about something, go slow. That's also that Venus.
Right. And
she's because if you don't pay attention, then in another 4 days, Venus is suddenly she halts. She turns around. So it's like, oh shit, you learned something, and like, wait a minute, I gotta go back to the drawing board.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean that's a very, very important point you pointed out, that this eclipse is actually at the antition of Jupiter.
Yeah.
And
the Mars Uranus.
So I mean it's a shadow aspect, being a anticia, and it's a new moon which is casting a shadow over the whole of
and there's an eclipse, so it's very shadowy in a sense.
It's very relevant. It's a very powerful. I mean, I know the August eclipse is gonna be a banger, but this one is I think in a Piscean sort of way can kind of blindside people a bit. So the more you're paying attention to your feelings leading up to this eclipse and being empathetic with people and the people around you and paying attention, and maybe in a Piscean way doing your sort of private, intimate meditative practice or whatever practice you do to actually connect to your heart space, that would really go a long way in alleviating or at least providing you internal strength for whatever this change indicated by the solar eclipse is bringing into your life.
And exactly what you said, because the more people, if you get into that meditative space, if you stay centered, then this can be a very liberating thing. Because, it's going to plug into that feeling of, it's Pisces, its potential is endless.
Right.
Like, I've got a sea of possibility. I can be anyone I want to be.
Right.
It's about how I would say that if it's always better. First of all, if you base your happiness on anything external, it's going to be transient. There's nothing lasts forever.
Right.
So you've got to find that within, first of all. But even aside from that, it's a lot about clarity, which you're only going to find through meditation. In fact, if something seems too good to be true, trust your instincts. If you're really sure about something, I would say be.
Right.
Yeah. Go slow.
Yeah. I mean, as you were saying, trust your instincts and too good to be true. These are very much Piscean, Mercury, Piscean, and Neptune themes, in life. Right. And I think in close association with the new moon, we are being called with this eclipse, or being challenged by this eclipse and its events, which will play out in the weeks following it, is that certain things may happen in our life that may shake the intentions that we thought were necessary for us in terms of our goals, in terms of the things we wanted to do. So, you know, you may find that sorry?
It's like breaking free of the illusions.
Yes, you know, it can be quite revealing or revelatory in that sense, but also some disillusionment is expected, you know, and so, because it's not, you know, Neptune, we talk about disillusionment and spirituality and enlightenment and, you know, psychism and all these things with Neptune, but the primary aim of it is to bring your expectations down to a level where they are realistic, you know. Because it's basically showing you that, well, the thing you thought you wanted for the last couple of months, well, you didn't really think it through, you know, and now I'm actually showing you that you need to get more real about it. And maybe that real can mean that what is being asked of you changes, okay, so that the goalposts are changed by somebody else and you have to adjust, or that you become aware that you're actually not able to produce the results to the level that you thought you were able to, for whatever reason, and that means that you have to accommodate some level of change within yourself about the assumptions that you are making about how to commit your energy in this way, and, you know, keep a portion of, because it's in Pisces and it's a new moon, keep a portion of your energy for yourself going forward, and don't put everything out there. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's
I think that's good. It's just clarity on those illusions, not being in any denial, because it's a new moon, new start, new cycle. There is a dream that's birthing. You've got to. Sorry, I'm saying all of this because I just want to. It came to me before the new moon. You know, it's a good time to look at what's draining your energy and just let it go. And wipe that slate clean and make that fresh start. It can really be a very creative time and a creative new cycle that's opening up.
Yes.
Where now we're going to get into Venus Retrograde. Where she's slowing down and you're learning that there's a lot more to discover here. So let's get to Venus.
Okay, so
we'll start at the beginning of the month, because as we record this, she's still at the end of Pisces, nearing 29 Pisces.
Right.
But she enters Aries on the 3rd of February.
So, I mean, what you're seeing up here, besides our wonderful faces, is you're seeing also the chart for Valentine's Day at solar noon, both in New York State and in London. And I just wanted to say, you know, I've been looking at the transits, you know, because it's almost like there's a big soap opera happening with Venus. And what's been happening for a long time now, for a couple of months, is that Mercury, the planet of communication, always just misses making a contact to Venus. Always just misses, for the last couple of signs that he's been going through, is just missed making a sextile to Venus or some connection to Venus, at least by Ptolemaic aspect. And they only come together actually on the day before the first eclipse, right? So they finally make a connection 4 days before Valentine's Day. So that's really good news, right?
Yeah, I didn't even make that connection. Oh, I didn't realize that they've just been missing each other.
Yeah, there's just you know, miscommunication, or, you know, so if you really like somebody, you know, a couple of days before Valentine's Day, you can't tell them finally, you know. It's that whole classic issue that happens on Valentine's Day. And I think it's funny that the symbolism of the astrology is kind of also telling the same story.
It's true. It's like you've got the, you know, the Leo full moon is ignited that passion and you want to say this. And the moon's in Libra on Valentine's Day, which is all about relationships. And, you know, it's opposite Venus and Mars. So definitely there's distance and trine Mercury, as you said.
Right.
There's a lot of relationship stuff that's going on. It'll be easier to say what you have to say.
Yeah.
You know, whether you are or are not in a relationship, celebrating Valentine's Day or not, it does seem to be a very social time.
Yes, that's true.
A very creative time, if nothing else.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So
Venus and Mercury traditionally can be quite skillful when they connect, so skilled handicraft or applying, making some sort of expert conclusion in the work you're doing. Yeah, it can be artistic, creative, but intellectual at the same time. So the joining of the mind and the hand, the creative hand, is what this Venus-Mercury connection can be, as well.
Right.
The other thing I found that was very insightful was that Venus goes retrograde at 13 degrees of Aries. Okay, so that's a good thing, because this feminine Venus in Aries is sort of avoiding that Pluto square. Yeah, so before she hits Pluto and goes all berserk and reactive, in that way, with so much Martian energy involved upon her, she decides to say bye-bye, I'm going back into Pisces, and she slows down and kind of retreats in that way to the sign where she's more comfortable. And I think that says a lot about, again, the recognition with Jupiter in Libra and on Valentine's Day, the moon in Libra, is that we are placing, as a collective, more emphasis on how we relate to one another, more than what we want to do and what we want to, prove yourself kind of thing, in a masculine sort of way. So I think that's very supportive.
I mean, since we're talking about the Venus retrograde, like, of course we're talking about Valentine's Day, but this is in effect all month, where Venus currently is at the end of Pisces, but once she enters Aries, it's said to be the sign of her fall. So it's not the most, well, in Pisces she's exalted, so it's easier for her to bring out her best qualities.
Yes.
Where she's creative and she's loving and compassionate and flowing. Now, when she enters Aries, it's not a very comfortable placement for Venus.
Right.
Because there's a sense of, having to be a woman in a man's world.
Yeah.
Or to have, you're breaking the norms of what, because Aries is a very masculine sign, and the Mars rule sign. And then you have Venus, the feminine principle, and here she's in Aries, so,
And it's doubly so, because traditionally, as Venus approaches her retrograde cycle ahead of the sun, she's an evening star in the sky. So people would have been noticing, if you've been looking at Venus in the evening at sunset or after sunset, you'll be able to see Venus quite brightly at this time, and up till she goes retrograde, end of Feb to early March. Really, she'd be very, very bright in the sky after sunset. And traditionally, people saw this as the more feminine Venus, because the sun light is now gone, and it's completely this lunar night environment in which she is shining. So the feminine light of the moon, or of nighttime, and this Venus having the light of herself, the self-luminosity of Venus comes into play as well. She's shining the light. She's like a second feminine light in the sky at this time. So traditionally, people saw the evening star Venus, which is what this Venus is, Valentine's Day, as the goddess of love, in all that aspect.
And then there's the myth of Inanna, which, if you want to get into it,
exactly, yeah. And then she goes into Aries, so she's not really going into Aries with the agenda of being so much, I don't like this environment, and being overwhelmed by it, because she's the evening star going into Aries in the full force in her role as the goddess of love. She's going into Aries, to bring the sense that, hey guys, yes, I know you want to do what you want to do, but don't forget that we all have our points of view. We're all coming from somewhere. We can actually work together. So she's bringing that intent into the masculine Aries sign, with all that fire and Mars and Uranus happening, all right?
Right.
And sort of maybe trying to remind us in that roundabout way, in a subtle way, as she would like, that, not to forget that even if we are being direct or firm, we don't have to be unkind about it.
Right, exactly. I think that's a very important and good point you brought up, because and full disclosure, I have Venus and Mars and Aries conjunct. So for everybody, full disclosure, I have Venus and Aries, but I can tell you this from personal experience, where there's a sense where, and of course I've experienced all shades of the energy, but it can be very easy to be mean,
Mm,
you know, and I've seen myself grow up, but it can be
right.
very easy to be cutting,
Yeah.
where you say something really sharp and you don't really, you may or may not mean it, but it just comes out. And it matters. It hurts people,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And but where does that come from? That generally comes from the Aries energy where the person is feeling hurt themselves.
Right.
So I guess what I'm saying is, for those of you watching, one helpful thing to remember with Venus and Aries is it's about the self. It's about learning to love yourself. Because when you can, Aries is the self, and then Venus is about love.
Yeah.
So and if Aries is the energy of a child when it comes to, and Venus is all about our relationships, right? So it's all about relating.
Yes.
So how are we relating with people, as we've been talking about? And so what is love? You don't really need love.
Having Venus in...
So
yeah.
there's a sense of learning to find that for yourself. So then your relationships become a sharing of that.
Right.
Your being, rather than a giving and taking.
And I feel that very strongly looking at this on Valentine's Day, Libra moon connecting to Venus Aries and Mars Aries. It's as you said,
freedom
Venus.
is so important, right? Like freedom.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a sense that with Venus in Aries, you're falling in love with your own authenticity. Yeah, and giving yourself that opportunity to get into that space, and then share that with another person while respecting their own freedom. And that kind of sharing in an airy sort of way can be very sparky, can be very exciting, can be very driven, and motivating actually for new ideas and new things and new ways of doing things going forward. So it's a fantastic energy to have on Valentine's Day, as long as people are doing the me authentically communicating first. Yeah.
Yeah, and also with Aries, especially as we lead into the retrograde in Mars, I would say that whatever's happening through February, be spontaneous, be yourself. Definitely, trust your own instincts. Aries is a lot about trust.
Right.
Trust your own instincts. And if you're not sure, go slow. Because as that Venus stations retrograde, there's a sense of, okay, Venus going from Pisces to Aries, like fools rush in where angels fear to tread. Like, if you don't know too much about a situation, experience it.
Right.
Trust is something that's, especially in relationships, it's something that's built through time and consistency. Don't blindly, especially with all the Pisces eclipses coming up, don't blindly jump into anything. You don't project. You may want something to be a certain way, but experience it if you don't know it.
Right. Especially because the shadow of Venus occurred at her exaltation degree, and she's going to be turning direct at her exaltation degree at 26 degrees of Pisces. So there's a certain level of, some people can be too in love with themselves, or bringing a sense of yes, that sort of way. Yes, I hear you. Yeah, it can be that
so that retrograde can be like, oh, I was such a fool.
That
like
sort of
I built all of this up in my head, and then suddenly feeling that heartbreak. Like, I hope that's not true for anyone, but I'm saying that so that you can be, like, doesn't mean that you're scared to do it, but that you go slow and know that this retrograde is coming up. So there's more to the story. And if that happens, then sure, the retrograde can actually help you discover deeper passion than you thought there was in something,
Yeah, absolutely. If someone is, this Venus is going to be going retrograde while the Sun then moves into Aries as well. So the Venus is actually going to be retrograde from 21st of March, which is the Aries ingress, from the 4th of March. Sorry, she'll be combust. From the 21st of March to about the 1st of April. So it's like April Fool's Day, right? But she's combust from the Aries ingress to April Fool's Day, where you're not going to see Venus in the sky. Okay?
Right.
And it's that part of the Venus cycle which traditionally was about cleansing oneself of all emotional attachments and relationships, and understanding and reconnecting to yourself and the self-love that a combust Venus is all about. You know, the combustion cycle, besides burning away the things that we don't need in terms of relationships going forward, it's also all about cleansing ourselves of strings that are too, you know, too strong attachments, golden shackles, whatever you want to call them. It was quite an esoteric thing, you know, meditation and things like that. But this period from 21st of March to the 1st of April, I think people can really take the time to sit to themselves in an Aries Venus sort of way.
Absolutely, and more that you're saying this, definitely I feel like the story is playing out between, so the whole Venus transit, she enters shadow, she's already in shadow, but she's going to do this whole back and forth between now, 4th of March she stations retrograde, 15th she stations direct, 18th she clears shadow. In this time she'll be going back and forth through Aries and Pisces. In April she's back in Pisces. But this whole thing is, especially as we lead up to this first retrograde point on the 4th of March, and you can edit out if I've repeated myself, okay?
Uh-huh.
So this 4th of March, there's also, I mean, I have to say it, with Venus retrograde cycles, there could be a sense of betrayal of trust, or, you know, these are also things that you need to be cautious about.
Right.
And
it is the journey from Pisces to Aries.
Hopefully
Yeah.
not, but that's why I was talking about. Yeah, that's why I was talking about trust earlier. If you don't know someone, if you don't know something, don't be too quick to think, "Oh, this is the one."
Mm-hmm.
Especially now that we're talking about Valentines Day and relationships, you know,
Right,
you
right.
get caught up with the one.
It's definitely
There
a
is
good
no
day
such
to.
thing.
It's definitely a good day to have fun. Yeah. You know. That's for
So
sure.
Valentine's Day is a good day to have fun, and I'm talking about the entire
The whole story.
span
Yeah.
of the
Yeah. Yeah.
week.
Mm.
The whole story between now all of February, right? Which is
Right.
what we're talking about.
Yes.
So
It's
all of
important.
February, you know, whatever you're going through, experience it, have fun with it, you know.
Yeah.
But know that there's more to a story that you don't yet know. That way you won't be caught off guard, and you'll just learn what there is to learn.
Right.
You know, and then you can make choices.
Yeah. It's actually very. I think a point to bring some attention to this Venus retrograde cycle, because as you mentioned in the beginning offline to me, that the last time Venus was retrograde was how long ago?
Well, that was Venus was retrograde in 2015 in Leo, but
Right.
in like August, September. Oh, I was talking about the Venus-Mars conjunctions. That was in
right.
Libra. That was 2.5 years ago.
Right. So now we have.
But one thing that would be helpful for people who are watching is Venus, those who aren't familiar, Venus retrograde cycles happen about 18 months apart.
Mm-hmm.
And about every 8 years, every 8 years, Venus will retrograde back at almost at the same degree in the zodiac. So the last time Venus was retrograde in Pisces and Aries was in 2009. And then before that in 2001. And then before that in, what's 8 years before 2001?
93?
93. And then before that, 77.
Right.
No, not 77. Do the math. But, you know, you're going 8 years.
Yeah, 8 years
so
at a time.
it would be helpful to look at your own life and see what was going on in those 8 years. You know, those 8-year segments.
8 years
because
ago.
you get a sense of where this transit is happening and how things have changed and how you responded to it back then and you know what's coming up now.
For example, in my case, 8 years ago, in 2009, is when I got into another relationship, which didn't go so well. So, you know, that should tell you something. Yeah, or that should tell me something. Now that I realize it, good to know. Good to know. You see, always learning something here. But the also interesting thing is that Venus, after her retrograde, once she goes retrograde, she's never going to actually meet the sun again for the rest of the year, actually. She's not contacting the sun directly by conjunction for the rest of the year. So
what do you make of that?
So what I make of that is, the feminine is now playing catch up. And I think this is going to play out, obviously, politically. The feminine is going to be behind. Yeah, because certain masculine sudden changes need to be happening. All right, whether we like it or not. But feminine things such as, reconciliation, at least Jupiter in Libra is going to be some sort of a hope, right? But he's going to be moving out of Libra in October. So
right, yes, and into Scorpio, some big changes on the horizon.
That's a big change, yeah. That is
a
big change. And so with the feminine being on the back burner, so to speak, playing catch up to the masculine sun, for me this means, we need to pay more attention to things like the environment, more attention to things like our food, our nutrition, how we're caring for people in our lives. We need to pay, because it's not going to be something obvious. We're going to be challenged, okay, to play catch up in these areas of our life. So it behooves us to take more attention and more time of our day to make sure that, if you want to say that you care or you love someone, pick up the phone and say it. Okay, don't wait, okay, for something to happen and then try to fix it afterwards. That's how I conceive this Venus playing catch up to the sun for the rest of the year.
That's very interesting. No, definitely, that's very. Sorry, I'm not spacing out, but I'm just kind of taking it in.
Yeah.
Okay. But no, that's good. And another thing I was going to say about the Venus retrograde cycle is and Nick Dagan Best.
Yes, of course.
He's done a lot of research on Venus retrogrades, and
yes.
I'm sure if you Googled him, you'll find his YouTube channel if anyone's really interested in
Venus and Mars,
how it plays out historically.
Right.
But the Venus retrograde cycles will come with, women. Well, Venus is about women, right? So you will find women in the news. Right. And there will often be very scandalous events or quote-unquote scandalous events.
Right.
Involve women, where again it's the woman that's being put on trial.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of that energy that plays in with the Venus retrograde as well. So look at where the retrograde is happening. Look at where Aries is in your chart, and you will see shades of the energy play out.
Right.
And that's the Venus. Well, is that all?
So what we talked about? We talked about the eclipses. We talked about Venus retrograde, and we talked about Valentine's Day. I think that's a lot. A lot of context, not just for February, but for the whole year.
I think we talked about Valentine's Day too.
So, February, I have one word for it, which is awakening and shifting. Yeah. And so it's definitely a time for awakening in some way, because Aries is emphasized, Uranus is emphasized with these eclipses. No matter what is happening, in terms of the rest of the chart, the rest of the horoscope symbolism, it definitely is a time to respect authenticity in your life. And that is something that if you take care in February, I'm sure will hold you in good stead for the rest of the year.
So as Taran just said about February, I totally agree with him. We're being cannonballed into a whole new world on a larger scale. And in that, it's like, okay, there's so much that's out of control, but then there are things that are within my control. And that is me being authentic, me doing the things that I love, me creating the life that I love, me, I can't wait for the governments and the powers that be to make everything okay.
Right.
I've got to be that source of creating that life the world that I want to live in, So there's part of that, and all of that comes back to the self, which is the first Leo eclipse, is grounding myself. Who am I? You're never going to be like everybody else. You're never going to please everyone. You can just be authentic, which is what Taran is saying. Yeah. And then we come to the end where there's a Pisces new moon. It's time to dream a new dream. Know your potential. And then seek clarity and go for it.
Right.
And when it comes to relationships, the whole build up of the Venus first shadow, I would say, you know, keep your heart open. But don't be naive either. You know, just go slow. Be like a child.
Right.
If you don't know something, you know, if you don't know if something is hot, it's like fire. You can't go too close to the fire.
Right.
With astrology, it's like if you give it a way to channel, then it won't manifest in ways that are less than desirable.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, love yourself, love each other, play nice.
Yes, play nice. And play, and even play. Yeah, play. Yeah. All right.
But that's it, I think.
Yeah,
And I
that was
hope
good.
you
That was
guys
good,
enjoyed
Priya.
this.
And it turned out better than, you know, it turned out more organized than we thought it would.
I know, and it was fun too.
That is very good. Yeah. So for all the viewers, hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sure it's the first of many more to come. But instead of just doing plain horoscopes, you know,
so we'll keep doing more.
yeah, you know, like, subscribe, share, you know, get the word out, because we want to create videos that are, you know, thematic instead of just plain old horoscope videos, you know. So something more meaty, something more big picture, and then we focused on Valentine's Day at the end of that to give you some of the juice. So have a good Valentine's Day and have a good February, everyone.
Yes.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.